Nicolas, thanks for coming here as well. Before diving into your slides, how are you?
I'm great.
Yeah,
really great. Happy to be here.
Yeah, you just had a conference last week.
Yeah, absolutely. Symfony Online.
Going from one to another.
Yes.
Are you feeling tired or?
No,
still?
not at all. I'm very stimulated by every conference. So I've been doing like 15 conferences this year. It's the last one of the 24-25 season, and
right. Yeah.
I'm really great.
Wow.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
Nicolas, you do a lot, man. I've written down here, you're a PHP core contributor, you're a foundation board member as well. You're one of the OG core developers for Symfony. Can I say that? And Symfony just celebrated their 20th birthday.
Yes.
Which is also pretty cool. And I actually think you will be talking a little bit about that.
Yeah. Exactly.
Today.
It's a bit mind-blowing sometimes to think that Symfony's been around for a majority of the time that PHP has been around.
Right.
Yeah, that's amazing. True.
But yeah, I look forward to hearing more about this.
No, exactly. So, Nicolas, I would say the stage is yours. I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say about Symfony and PHP. For the folks watching on YouTube, one time more reminder, go into the Discord server. There is a thread for the Q&A for Nicolas as well.
Also, if you're using Symfony, maybe let us know with, I think we don't have a pony emoji for the Symfony, but maybe use
Look at this one. This is nice. Like everyone is doing elephants, right? We're also doing elephants, but a little differently. But Symfony made not an elephant, but a symphony. You get it? Like a pony for
fantastic.
Amazing. And actually, my daughter is 2 years old and she loves this so much, but she thinks it's a zebra. And
some think it's a cow.
Oh, a cow? But okay.
But it's a symphony.
It's a symphony, right?
But nonetheless, because we don't have an emoji for that, maybe just leave a zebra emoji if you're using Symfony. Just let us hear us from you.
Leave a zebra in chat while we're listening to Nicolas Grekas about Symfony.
Yeah, Symfony. Thank you. So 20 years of Symfony, because it's a special year, 30 years of PHP, 20 of Symfony, so let's celebrate. So past, present, future, that's what I want to present. So as you know, I guess already, Symfony is two things. It's both a set of building blocks like the components and a framework. And so when we talk about Symfony, we can talk about both. So I'm going to talk about both. I focus mostly on the framework, but we have true core values that make us work on components first and then build the framework on top. So the history is like 20 years already. So it started at Sensio, which is now Sensio Labs. And you might know, it powers the major platforms of the PHP ecosystem. So Drupal, Laravel, and many more who are using the components and making their own source of the Symfony components. So Symfony is designed to be modern, fast, and developer first. We are all working really, really hard to achieve this promise. So I hope we kind of achieve this limit, we're working hard on that. So Symfony, one true low-level and really core principle is not exactly the code; it's the set of processes, and that's something that's really, really important, and it gives, I think, part of the leverage of why Symfony has so big impact. So the release calendar is like the bar here in the middle of the screen is like where we are now. And so we are maintaining a few versions at the same time, the long-term supported versions like 5.4, 6.4, which you should, move away from, but they are still maintained. And we are on the other side, in the close future, we are about to release 8.0, so the next major, and 7.4, and we release 7.3. So every 6 months we do a new feature release, so we call that a minor release using semantic versioning vocabulary. And every month we do a bug fix release. And thanks to this policy, which we call the backward compatibility promise, it means you can upgrade safely without us breaking us. I mean, new releases breaking your applications, which is really enjoyable. And that's not enough. Like, Symfony 1, Symfony 2, for those of you who were there when Symfony 1 was a thing, it was like a new project. Symfony 2 is a big bang. You had to rewrite everything. And that's not the case anymore. Of course, in Symfony 2, we learned how to move the community forward and allow people to get a smooth upgrade. And so we started, I remember that because I was working hard on that technically to provide the deprecation policy. And so now I think it works quite well. And I also think this spread in the community, like, PHP is also doing deprecation and then major upgrades. Drupal is also aligning on these principles. And so many projects in the PHP world adopted those way of doing, major upgrades. So a major upgrade is just about removing the legacy code, and so doing a fresh cleanup so that we're ready to ship new features for the next 2 years. So on your side, you just need to fix deprecations, and then you're good to go. Mostly free, of course, after fixing deprecations. We have a really strong focus on the developer experience. So here I'm going to talk a bit more about the framework itself, like the bundled experience of the components together around the framework bundle, and so the Symfony developer experience. It all starts with what is called Symfony Flex, which is this composer plugin that enhances the process of installing new packages. So when you install a package, Flex is going to ship it to add default configurations to the application so that then installing is really plug and play. You add a new dependency and then the dependency just works in the application using default settings. And then, of course, it's yours to configure and to tweak and to hack and to upgrade and to maintain, basically. But yeah, Flex makes a really plug and play experience. And that's, that has been introduced in Symfony 4. And I think that was a big change in the way people develop Symfony applications. So you start with Composer Create Project or Symfony New, which is a wrapper on this command. And then you might want also to leverage the Maker Bundle, which is another piece of helper, because this is going to help you scaffold like quick CRUD applications. You can very easily generate, let's say, a controller, a tweak extension, a login form. So this is going one step further than Flex, because then you can generate the code to start something really quickly. So that's a nice initiative. That's Ryan Weaver who worked on this Maker Bundle, and I use it every day when I need to bootstrap something really quickly. And then as soon as you have your own code, you can also start to ship more advanced features. And there is API platform. Kevin was there just before, and you know that he's been working on that a lot in the recent years. So API platform is like the wow platform. I think it's all languages, all technologies included. It's one of the best way to generate APIs because of the hypermedia work they've been doing, like JSON LD, Hydra, Swagger, OpenAPI. So there are so many standards that they know about, and they are the best in class, I think, on the topic. So that's really great, and they work on the experience also, as you know. So it's just one attribute away to get some entity, some exposed on as an API endpoint. So if you're on the other side of the type of application, when I mean instead of generating JSONs, maybe you prefer generating HTML with CSS and JavaScript embedded, then we also have a solution for that, which is wrapped into something we call the Symfony UX initiative. You can have a look at ux.symfony.com. It's one of the only visual part of Symfony, because, you know, Symfony is like code. And like I would say, draw me a symphony, I would maybe draw you a symphony. But for the UX stuff, there is something to show. So we can show a map, we can show icons, we can show live updates, typed scripts, etc. So that's really awesome. There is a team of core team members which really love doing front-end stuff, which is not exactly my case. And they do an incredible job. One of the most wow thing in Symfony UX is that using asset mapper, the import map feature of browsers, you don't need to have NPM or even Node.js on your development machine, and that changes everything for me. Like before that, I hated having to run into NPM stuff issues, and I was like, I'm so happy now. It just works. So then, in your code, because, okay, it's cool to have third-party generic bundles, generic components, etc. But then at some point you are going to need to be able to wire your own stuff and to code it. And if you work in the Symfony framework side, then you know that you can use auto-wiring, auto-configuration. This is all about automatically discovering and turning your classes on so that you can very easily consume some service from Symfony and expose your own classes as a command, for example, or as anything you want to do, like a message handler, something like that. So basically you start coding PHP, maybe adding a few attributes. So this is one example here where the example is of course fake, but you could have a channel broadcaster in your application, and then just using this attribute auto-wire iterator, you're telling Symfony, hey, please give me all the implementations of this channel interface in the application and provide it to me as an iterable, and that's it. So there is a lot of code going on and logic going on behind this simple declaration, and Symfony makes it just a joy to declare and to express and then to consume. So auto wiring, auto configuration, it's like a symphony. I had to do it. Of course, we worked and we do work and provide a lot of dev tools, and I think that's a big reason also to send a wow to Symfony. So you know about DD and the dump functions. I think that's one of the first contributions I made to the Symfony ecosystem when I entered the group or the repository a few years ago, more than 10 years ago. And I think everybody uses that daily, I can say. So I'm very proud of that, but I'm super happy also to have such a powerful tool to debug. I'm not into Xdebug much, sorry, Derek, but that's fine. Everyone their style. So Error Pages, the Web Debug Toolbar, Bin Console helpers to introspect the application, discover the roads, what is available for auto wiring, etc. And the last tool is like the Symfony CLI, which is a standalone Go binary that is going to help us bootstrap a web server without having to configure Apache or Nginx virtual hosts. And it makes it very easy to start a project and turn it off and go to the next project and turn it on and etc. without friction. So you know those screens, right? The profiler, a dump excerpt, and so then you can navigate and understand the state of your application. Then, of course, when you have this application that is built, you want to deploy it. And so we also worked hard on making Symfony. Kevin used cloud native. I think that fits, like using environment variables, having a way to deal with secrets. It's ready for the worker mode of frontend PHP or Broadrunner or Spool. But the container can be reused in a loop without any issue now. It's compiled, which means it's really, really fast because all those auto-wiring stuff, they are just compiled into a plain PHP at some point so that nothing happens at runtime about that. And then I'm mentioning Symfony Cloud, but there are, of course, way more ways to host a Symfony application. The point is that this should be easy always. A short focus on standalone components. I made very, very short list because we have like very few minutes together. So sorry, I guess some of you will love another component I'm not mentioning. So anyway, thank you for your patience about that. So my first is like Messenger. I think the Messenger component changed the way we use Symfony. Like it used to be too complex or impossible to offload background jobs. And so thanks to Messenger, we now have a very clean architecture and process to dispatch messages and then run workers in the background to, I don't know, resize images, send emails, anything you want to do in the background. So that's really, really nice with the many integrations to various message queues and transports. That's quite a big milestone in terms of achievement for Symfony when we published Messenger. I'm adding the HTTP client because we all consume third-party APIs every day in all applications. We have connections to, I don't know, So what is nice about the HTTP client is that it's very, very easy to use for normal, common, basic needs like synchronous round trips. But it's also able to scale with way more complex and advanced needs like async, streaming. It supports retries, caching. It has observability built in. It even has server-sent event support, so you can consume from the Symfony application a real live stream of servers and events. And this is now becoming mainstream because OpenAI is using this protocol to stream from ChatGPT. It's fail-safe, so if you don't write the code to handle the 404 and the 500 responses, you will get an exception. It's secure because TLS is tweaked to the maximum level, which is not the case by default in PHP. So by default, PHP is not super secure in that regard. So something we could improve maybe with the foundation. And last but not least, it is interoperable, which means it's able to look like a few set of common interfaces. There is a Symfony interface, there is a PSR 18 interface, there is an HTTP plug interface. So basically, any SDK can consume the client in one way or another. Wow, also to the community for providing so many integrations. So the mailer component, the notifier component, the messenger, I mentioned that, the translation component, they all have bridges. And they are bridges for so many providers. It's really, really great to be able to connect any of those components to any of those providers. It also saves those providers from shipping an SDK. And when I look at standalone SDKs, I'm not super happy with the quality quite often. And this fits into some very clean and clear design. So everybody has to fit the design, and then it makes a consistent experience for everybody. So that's quite amazing that to see that there are new integrations with every new versions of Symfony. I'm amazed by this list growing and growing. 7.3 is the version that has been released like at the end of May, so 2 weeks ago. It provides 3 new components. I choose to highlight here the JSON streamer component. So JSON streamer, as the name hints, it's about consuming JSONs and generating JSONs, but in a streaming way, which is very unlike what we do with JSON encode and JSON decode. Here, the component is going to help us generate code, PHP code, and this PHP code will be able to stream an object into a JSON almost byte by byte. So yeah, it's of course for performance critical needs, like if you have an API that generates a bunch and big chunk of JSON tables, I don't know, that's what you would use this component for. So it's not exactly replacing the serializer component. It's less flexible, but it is way more capable in terms of performance and scalability. The next component is Object Mapper. So it's a very simple one. It's able to take the data properties from one object and move this data, this state, to another object of another class. So it's very common to use, data transfer objects, DTOs, in applications, because you might have one representation of your incoming JSON as a PHP resource class, and then you want to map that to an entity class or to some class that represents, let's say, a form. And so basically, this object mapper component makes it super easy to move data from one layer to the other layer in the application, using attributes, because then it's super expressive. About attributes, we are also using them more and more. So it took us years, it takes us years to discover all the use cases for attributes. It's quite amazing, the range of capabilities they provide us. So here we have a class, which is what I call my twig extension. And this class provides this calculate area implementation. And this attribute as twig function tells, hey, please expose this method as a function in Twig, the templating language. And that's it. You only need to write that now to do the wiring, and Symfony will do the wiring for you. So it means less coupling to Twig itself, because we had to extend some abstract extension. That's not the case anymore. And so it makes things just more fresh, like we can breathe more easily, less code to read. In a similar fashion, we also did the same for comments. So here you can see we have a class which doesn't extend anything. It's using the as command attribute on the class to give it a name. And then on the invoke method, you can see that there are two attributes, one argument, one option. And this will be turned into like command line options and arguments. So you can say bin console app create user, the name of the user, -- activate. And this is declared here. So again, more expressivity in the code. So there are way more components. The serializer, I mentioned it, the event dispatcher, test tools, the translation component, voters for authentication. The workflow component is a nice one. Symfony also has like boring stuff about internationalization, polyfills. It's super boring, but it's really, really great that they are here. We can leverage them, and we do, actually. I think the polyfill MB string package is the most downloaded package on Composer packages. Okay, that's great. I mean, it fits a need. and way more, of course. Of course, Symfony is PHP. And so, yeah, I just want to have one slide at least on wow to PHP, because PHP improved a lot recently, but since 30 years, it improves a lot at every new version. So for performance, for attributes, type safety, which is an ongoing topic, lazy objects, which is something that unlocks a way in very interesting use cases in, let's say, doctrine, for example. The list is huge, so I just made this short list. And we're also to PHP 4 and JetBrains and for bringing the PHP Foundation together. So Symfony is a proud, let's say, founding member. And I think the foundation and the interaction with PHP internals, the mailing list, is making PHP an even more community-driven project. And that's quite amazing to see, actually, how everything sticks together to build something for the better. Symfony wouldn't be anything without the documentation, so wow to the documentation. Yeah, there are contributions every day to document the new features we add version after versions. There is Symfony Cast for online tutorials, so it's really a living knowledge base, of course. And my last wow is to the community. So the community of contributors. There are over 4,000 unique contributors in those 20 years. And we count about 500 unique contributors every year. That's a lot. That's more than one per day. And that's a lot of new people. So it means the project is very active and so many people care about it, about moving it forward. So the community of contributors is led by this team, so the core team. Those are people that are passionate about Symfony, that have some skills in software programming, and they also, like the spirits and the core values of Symfony. And that's what makes them thrive in this community, helping people also contribute, helping review pull requests. So thanks to them, I really enjoy working with this team and everybody else also that is not in the team, of course. We do have some backers. So I'm mentioning that because money is also important. Symfony is open source, but there are companies that do support Symfony financially. I think it's important to grow this list. So if you can, please consider joining me on the topic. And yeah, that's it. So Symfony is mature and modern. It's enterprise ready. And it's also really quick to bootstrap for startups. It's built for developer experience, the extensibility, innovation, and it's open source spirit all the way down. We do open source everywhere in the processes, the code, and anything. So yeah, the future is ours to build all together. I think that's just a starting point. So thank you very much. I would be happy to meet you all, let's say on Symfony Slack or anywhere really, at conferences. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Nicolas. Wow.
Thank you. Yeah. And thank you for all the work that you do on Symfony. You know, wow to you as well. I think, Symfony's impacted PHP in so many positive different ways. It's really cool to kind of see the broad overview of that.
Yeah, people are clapping here. Yeah, that's fine. I don't think that it picks up on the microphones, but go wild. Go wild. It's an impressive list. I mean, and it's only the tip of the iceberg, as you said. There's so much going on in the Symfony community.
I think that's also leads me to like a first interesting question a bit is, I think about the direction of Symfony going in the future. Because I mean, like you said, you have this pretty big core team. Symfony is a lot of different things to different people for different reasons, right? You say it's enterprise ready. It's great for a startup to build their first app. And is there like a focus, a particular direction you're trying to take this in? Or is it more of a, we're a big community, we can kind of divide and conquer, we kind of do different parts simultaneously? And especially considering the timeline of those 20 years, do you feel like the focus has shifted over that time? I think one thing that I personally notice is, but that might be my personal bias, is that I work on applications that are, some of them are that old or like are 10 years old. And so I have a different interest in what I want out of a framework today than I had 20 years ago.
Yeah. So Symfony is really community driven in this regard. So when I go to conferences, I talk to people and I try to understand what they want to achieve with Symfony, what are their pain points. And I think many of us are doing that. And there is a constant conversation about where Symfony should go, what we could improve, which ideas we have. Like yesterday, we had a dinner all together here, and I already took some notes. Like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. I didn't think about that, and etc. And that's how things, I think, grow in Symfony. It's quite organic. So in the short term, I'm thinking about, let's say, the configuration is something that people are talking about since many years, like YAML, XML, PHP. Where are we going in this direction, on this topic? I don't know exactly, but we know there is a discussion and there's something that should be done, continued. I know that also providing a good first developer experience is critical to the project. We have also true values like solid principles in general. And those are kind of sometimes on the other end of the spectrum of, the developer experience. There's a competition between clean design, which means education, which means barrier entry, versus the entry first comer experience. So we still want people to start with Symfony, even if they just hack something. So that's a major background job in this process. There are also outside forces, I would say. Like Laravel is one. Laravel is challenging Symfony a lot. So we are learning from that, being pushed in a direction that we couldn't take as Symfony, but this is still pushing us in a direction, like I mentioned, developer experience, but there are way more stuff that Laravel brings. I don't know, I could mention also AI, which is, a big discussion ongoing everywhere. And of course, at Symfony, we're wondering how this is going to affect us. I don't have any clue, but talking about that every day is will maybe lead to something.
That's a fascinating topic, and we'll talk a bit more about that later with the following speakers. But I think for the moment, just like back to Symfony, and I think that's something that came up on the chat as well. It's just, kudos on like figuring out a way to have 7 major releases across 20 years without losing a lot of people along the way, right? Actually, the BC process, figuring out this upgrade path, like making that work, I think that's had a positive impact. And I think that made it possible maybe for Symfony to also become part of the infrastructure of PHP.
Absolutely,
right?
Yeah. I think Drupal adopted Symfony because of the processes a lot. Yeah.
And is that kind of how you see some of Symfony these days more? As in, like, it's really like a separate, like there's like this infrastructure level that's really just providing the basis for other things to be built on top of, and not just straight up an app with the framework?
Both ways. We don't want Symfony to become a commodity.
Right.
So we still want to be on the edge of, the state of the art or the innovation, etc. That's the only way to continue to keep the momentum in the community. And so, we do not want to become a commodity. So we still need to thrive in terms of ideas and inspiring people.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I had one more question about Symfony UX specifically. Does the core team see Symfony UX as like the future for front ends in Symfony? What's your vision there?
Front-end is very diverse. And so Symfony UX is one, I would say, opinionated way to build a UX, a front-end with Symfony. And we want to push it because it's building on core, like I mentioned, core technologies like import map, asset mapper. And we believe those are really, really great. And the industry as a whole did not invest enough energy into allowing the community, the web community, to build those kind of apps without entering the Node.js or bundler ecosystem, which is a giant hydra, right? Which doesn't mean we are ignoring that there are people that build front end that need Webpack, that need React, etc. But we want to provide a solution for people that don't have the need for React.
Right.
That's the spirit of the Symfony UX, and I know that it's just server-side generated strings in the end. So nothing prevents and will ever prevent using JavaScript front-end stuff with Symfony, because that's two separate worlds.
It's just generating, strings on the server. That's basically all we're doing.
I think that's been 30 years of generating strings on the server.
That's a great quote to end here. Nicolas, thank you so much for coming here and updating us on the state of Symfony. And there are quite a lot more questions in the Discord waiting for you.
Okay.
So you know what to do.
Okay, I'm going to join the Discord server and answer there.
Awesome. And then, we will move on to our next speaker.